everyone, my name is Cristina and welcome to Biting Into the Unknown, a podcast where myself and my sister Monica talk about different topics that we're interested in, all ranging from self-improvement, mental health, university, careers, and really anything that we are interested in discussing. We bring in guests and we have amazing discussions. So today, for the start of season 3, for episode 29, we have a very special episode. I'm joined today with my lovely housemates, Kieran and Jack. Please, introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, I'm Kieran, I suppose. The aforementioned housemate.
And I'm Jack. I'm the second aforementioned housemate.
Thank you for being here, honestly. So Monica is off because she's studying very hard for her final exams at university, and so I thought to have the voiceover and just have a discussion. We have lots to talk about today.
We haven't decided who's taking Monica's spot though, or who's gonna.
Yeah.
Do you think you're close to? I haven't spoken to Monica before, but
I have. You see, I've already done an episode. So
you've done the research.
Yeah. This is my second appearance, folks. Hopefully you recognise my voice.
Exactly. So if you haven't already, do check out Jack's podcast. What is going on? I will link it down as well.
Thank you for the plug.
Great plug.
Yes, but today we are going to be talking about life after graduation. We're going to talk about our direction and purpose. It sounds all very adultish and scary, but hopefully it is not. So to begin with, I want to hear from you guys to let the listeners know a little bit about what your journey has been from the start of university through to graduation and where you're at the moment. So you can get started, Kieran?
Sure, yeah. Small little topic that we're going in with.
Small piece of time.
Yeah. No, so I studied philosophy at Reading, started in 2015, came straight out of school to do it. And then originally I wanted to do law, and I was going to convert over. Decided against that after doing some work experience in law, wasn't that interesting, and the idea of doing another 2-3 years of study to even get into like a position where I'd be a lawyer wasn't something I was looking forward to.
Bit too much work.
Yeah, a little bit. After 3 years of work, it just wasn't something I was interested in. So I started in insurance for 2 years at one company, and then moved over to another company which I've recently just left. And again, I'm focusing on my studies at the moment. Decided to go back to school after complaining that I shouldn't do law because that was too much effort. So I've gone into economics. I think that was an area I was interested in, whereas I think law was maybe something I just thought was a good career beforehand. And then, now I'm looking for work in development or public policy or politics, one of the three that I think I will enjoy more than insurance in the sort of the more corporate world. That's a little synopsis, at least on my formal education and employment life.
Amazing. And why do you think you're more just interested in going into development now?
You know what? It's a bit of a strange one. I think the idea of working for a big corporation, making them, my last company they were worth about $3 billion, and the idea of making someone, that much richer, and not really adding net positive or a lot of utility to the world or something wasn't something I was that enthralled with, I suppose, and that's what I hope to go into, something a bit more. Something that's going to make the society a little bit better. Okay. Touch wood.
You've been working for a couple of years before you started this economics course that you're on. Do you think it was necessary for you to have left university and started a career before you found what you really wanted to do, or do you think there's a situation where you could have gone straight from university and found economics and development, or do you think you needed to start in a career, find you didn't enjoy it, and then change course?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think from my experience, or the way I've been thinking about it recently, I think I sort of just gone through life up until the end of university, just this sounds like an alright decision, I suppose. And I hadn't really given it much thought, and I think the work experience really like enlightened me to definitely don't want to do law, and then I think maybe you guys both know, like, once you graduate, you're just looking for a job.
Yeah.
And originally, where I started after I graduated, I had an internship there, and I was looking for a job there. I wasn't really even thinking about insurance at the time, but then I got a call saying, "Oh, Kieran, you should apply for this job that we got going. We think you'd be a good candidate." So I said, "Oh yeah, okay. I definitely need a job. I need to pay the bills because I didn't want to go home to go to live with my parents." So I thought, okay, and that necessitated the journey that I went on, in the sense that once I started a job that I didn't want to do, it sort of hit me in the face, like, okay, you need to figure out what you want to do, I suppose.
Yeah, and I feel that many times it's different to know what you really want to do, and it's really when you get to experience different, like through internships or just working, you see actually this is what I really do know what to do, and it helps you get into the direction that you want to go into. Yeah, helps you see more clearly. No, that's very good that you've decided to like completely change your direction, because it's many times easy to just sit down and be complacent, but you thought, no, I've got to change this. And yeah, that's really admirable. But how about you, Jack? Tell us a little bit. I know you've already discussed your background a little bit when you joined us last season, but do you want to give us a little,
Yeah, absolutely. I too briefly considered law, but this was when I was doing A-levels. I remember going to an example class of what a law lecture would be like, and decided no.
You could have started a fictitious law firm, Mahoney and Martin, maybe.
Yeah, that would be great.
LLP,
yeah. Sort of like a la Suits.
Yeah.
Sort of fake.
I could be Harvey. And then you could be.
I get to be the absolute brainiac who fools Harvard and everybody. Yeah, sure, mate.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, you're not qualified to be a lawyer, but I mean.
Okay, getting off that.
I don't get the references, but
The audience will get. I'm sure your audience are full of avid Suits fans. But anyway, so I went to uni. I did French and International Relations for 4 years, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I picked the course because I think, like most people, it was a mixture of. I mean, I was good at French, and I was interested in international relations and politics, so that's why I picked it. Enjoyed the course, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was sort of lucky in that throughout the period of throughout university, I dabbled in a few different things. I didn't really have any sort of formal work experience necessarily to begin with. I did sort of extracurricular stuff, so I was on the student radio and I wrote for the student newspaper, and I sort of thought, maybe I could be a journalist, and this is kind of what I want to do. But then again, it's interesting, Kieran, when you said when you leave university you're just looking for a job, and I think as well there can be a lot of pressure to have a job lined up as soon as you finish. So of course, in their final year of uni, everyone's doing, trying to go for these grad schemes and doing all of these assessment centres, which is great. I was focusing on just trying to finish university, so I wasn't doing any of those. So I left uni and I was kind of looking around for a job. I had a tiny bit of experience in radio, and I thought, okay, well, yeah, I needed money. I needed to support myself. My family are in France, so I couldn't really move home. And I was sending out a few CVs to sort of communications type jobs. I wasn't really sure. And I fell into recruitment, recruiting for tech companies. I'd done a bit of work experience the summer before. I'd worked at this recruitment company for 3 months to pay the bills and also to get some experience of what an actual office job was like. And the CEO phoned me up and said, hey, I'll give you a job. I'll give you a job in September after you graduate. And like you said, Kieran, you're just looking for a job and someone's handing me a well-paid job, straight out of university. So I thought, go for it. And a couple of years later, I'm still in recruitment, not with that same company. I've moved jobs, and I'm still pursuing my dream of getting into journalism. But you've just got to remember that sometimes it takes time, and you've got to pay the bills, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't realise how closely our post-university job hunt was linked, really.
Oh, here's a job. Okay.
Yeah, I will take that, thank you.
For sure, Yeah, I think for me it was a bit similar in the sense that I was applying to lots of different jobs related to my degree. So I studied chemical engineering, so I was applying to process engineering roles. But then I was a bit like you, Kieran. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do this as a career, because I did 5 years of university, and that's quite a long time to really like get to know, do I really love this or not? And when I got my job offer to work for the company that I currently work with, I realized that I really liked the job that I'm doing, project controls engineer, which is completely different to process engineering or chemical engineering itself. And it really got me thinking to the fact that you don't have to directly use your degree in, especially like you guys, in whatever you are doing.
Are you saying I don't use philosophy?
I don't know, have you been using philosophy?
I've never used
How do you use philosophy staring at Excel spreadsheets, Kieran?
I like the idea that you think I stare at Excel spreadsheets. I'm capable of that.
I've seen you stare at many an Excel spreadsheet.
You know what? When I worked in insurance, I would say when people would ask like, what did you do at uni, or like what's your background? I'll say, I've got a degree in philosophy, and they go, so how does that relate to insurance? And I'd go, nope, it just doesn't.
But I was also thinking the same thing, because coming from the faculty of engineering, everybody has at the end of it sort of a job that's lined in that direction, whereas if you do something related to humanities, you can do whatever you want. Like you can go into recruitment, you can go into insurance or whatnot. So yeah, it opens up many doors. But I also wanted to discuss different topics with relation to graduation. And there's this concept or this phenomena called quarter life crisis. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before. But
so familiar to us.
have you experienced? I mean, I'll describe it.
One
second. I've got the definition written down, so I'll read it out for you. So
this is a really hard-hitting interview, actually.
Yeah,
Nobody built like this.
No, no, but I'm sure we've all experienced it. So basically, what I've got written here, I've got the definition from Wikipedia, and it states that a quarter life crisis is a crisis involving anxiety over the direction and quality of one's life, which is most commonly experienced in a period ranging from person's early 20s up to their mid-30s. So I saw that there was this study done on LinkedIn, like in 2017, and about 75% of people aged 25 to 33 said that they did experience this. So I feel like it's something super normal that I definitely have experienced. How about you guys? And what has your experience been?
Yeah, no, I definitely think I've experienced it. Like, I think for me at least, like your path in life is so uncertain. It's so natural to have anxiety about it, and especially in today's like social media era where it's so easy to compare yourself to someone, and you like. I follow like 2 or 3, CEOs, and they're like 23 or something. And they're doing amazing things, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm 23, bloody hell, maybe I'm a bit far behind, or maybe like having a 9 to 5 isn't actually what I want to do, And I remember one time I had the head of my department, he was telling me about working in compliance, which is what I used to do when I worked in insurance, and he was saying, what was he saying?
What was he saying, Kieran?
Well, but no, he was saying how he got into compliance and he didn't really want to do it in the first place, and he was quite unhappy with like working in compliance, and then he was like, and then after 10-15 years I was just sort of like let it all wash over me, and I just stopped having a problem with it, and that scared the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to wake up one day and thought, well, I've wasted 10 years in it, might as well just keep going. So hence that's why it's pushed me into that, like, at least the crisis I think has come over me a little bit and forced me to play my hand in terms of like actually getting on with what I want to do. So I'm a bit happier now. Now I've made a first step at least.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it is really scary, as you said, to feel like you're in the passenger seat and you're not really taking control of your life and just watching it go by and not really being aware, like years are going past and you're like stuck. So yeah, but I feel that while we may feel that way, sometimes it's so, because we compare ourselves, we're like, I'm not moving fast enough, I'm stuck, but some things do take time, and it's also important to realize the opposite, that, you know, you just have to keep going and maybe not like give up at the slightest sign of adversity. But yeah, how about you, Jack? What's your experience with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything Kieran said, and I've definitely experienced anxiety and worries about sort of the direction of my life, and particularly in regards to work, obviously. And I think it's a lot to do with the expectations that you set yourself. I mentioned earlier about university and everyone doing I say everyone, lots of people doing grad schemes, and I feel like as well, if you go to university, that's a real expectation, and there are lots of people, or rather I think that there is a certain pressure to sort of apply for and get onto grad schemes, which of course are great, and you know, if that's what you want to do, and if you get onto those grad schemes, that's fantastic, and I'm not sitting here saying it wouldn't have been great to be on a grad scheme. But equally, everyone's path is really different, and it's actually really normal not to do a grad scheme.
Yeah.
And even people who do, you know, grad schemes of 1 or 2 years, and then you can come out the other side and still feel like, okay, well, maybe this isn't what I want to do with my life. Comparing yourself to others, I agree completely. I was my first year after university, I didn't have any money, you know, my friends seemed to be getting on in life, as you say, Kieran, social media, you're comparing yourself all the time. I didn't enjoy my job particularly at the time, yeah, it was really difficult. But again, one thing I'd say is that doing something that you're not necessarily enjoying, you know, and you have to pay the bills, does sort of focus your mind and does sort of force you to think, okay, what would I rather be doing than this? You know, I don't know if people know this is. I'm bringing this up. I don't know if people know the YouTuber Casey Neistat, but he obviously, if you do know him, really successful filmmaker and YouTuber, and a complete workaholic as well. But I remember he said once that sort of he had when he was young, he was really, really poor, and he washed dishes in a restaurant. You know, he was like 18 or something, and he said it sucked, but yeah, you know, he spent 13 hours a day washing dishes, thinking about what he'd rather be doing, and that drove him obviously to go into filmmaking. Now, you don't have to wash dishes, but you know, if you find yourself in a job where you're thinking, oh god, you know, I wish I was doing something else, then sort of try and harness that and think, oh, well, what else would I rather be doing, and just work towards getting there slowly. And there's nothing wrong with getting there slowly as well. I could be a couple of years away from finally getting into journalism, but
although we're all pursuing careers in different things that we're interested in, it's also realistic to think that, I mean, not me personally, but I know a few people that have said, like, you know, a job is just a job to me. I just want it to support my lifestyle. Like, I'm not career driven, or I don't want a career that doesn't motivate me in life. My career is just there to supplement me and my hobbies and my interests. Yeah. So that's always like another thing to consider, I think.
Absolutely. And something as well, and I've had issues with this, is that, you know, like you said, talking about what you want out of life, and like, I want to go into journalism. I do want to do that. I have fear about that because journalism is seen as such a calling. Like, it's not just a job. You know, the majority of people who are journalists, you know, believe in some, you know, they're doing it for the greater good and they want to hold people to account and blah blah blah. You know, which is true, but then equally you think, oh, it'd be nice just to make a load of money and have a big house and, you know, not worry about being, you know, super accountable and sort of everything else. You know, and I remember feeling really split about maybe staying in recruitment and perhaps making a load more money and that just being my life, and going into journalism where perhaps I'd be challenged more intellectually, or maybe it'd be a bit more exciting, but financially journalism isn't particularly stable at all. You know, and there are issues around that, and there's, yeah, basically, Kieran, what you were saying, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just having a job and then doing stuff outside of it.
Welcome back to Writing into the Unknown. For the second part of this episode, we are going to be talking about lifelong learning. So I have a little description as well of what this means for those of you listening at home or wherever you happen to be. Lifelong learning is defined as development after formal education, is the continuing development of knowledge and skills that people experience after formal education and through their lives, or it's also defined as ongoing, voluntary and self-motivated pursuit of knowledge for either personal or professional reasons. So I really wanted to discuss this because since leaving university I have felt as though my brain has gone mush because I was constantly being exposed to difficult formulas and stimulating my brain constantly, having exams, group reports, etc. And I just feel like now my brain is not as stimulated, so I have felt that I needed to undergo other forms of learning in order to, keep it moving, keep it working. Yeah. So I also read that, it's important to continue learning throughout your life after formal education, as this can really lower the likelihood of us developing diseases like Alzheimer's, things like that. So I just want to take it back to you and ask you, if you are currently undergoing any learning outside of, philosophy or international relations or anything that you were studying at university.
I really agree. Like, when you go to work, your brain does turn to mush. I mean, like, not in the sense that, because obviously I never did formulas or, complex equations. Like
you are now in economics.
Well, I mean, I'm trying. But like, obviously when you write essays and, do group projects and stuff, you're writing and you're using a bit more advanced vocabulary. Whereas now you just don't, like, when I write emails, you're trying to make it as simple as possible.
Hi.
Yeah.
My boss always says to me when I have to write an email to a client or something, and or write a post or anything, he says, "Come on, Jack, you've got a journalism background. You should you come up with something interesting." And I'm thinking,
use a big word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work like that.
It's fair. I still reread my emails 1,000 times before I send them. I need to get better at just like going for it. But yeah, a little practice.
I'd say as well in that, and I don't know, if you loved school and if you always love learning, that's great. And I like learning and what I'm interested in. But what I've found is that now that I'm working, I've been working for a couple of years, I do sit there and I think, I think back to some of my modules or I hear someone at university or studying something and I think, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I'd love to learn about that. And you think, yeah, learning about that would be way more interesting than what I'm doing at work. So I think it sounds really cliche about people who are currently working going back to school. But it's true that I think you miss it. You miss learning when you're not doing it. And having learning in your life can be really important.
Yeah, for sure. And I also feel like many times I do want to get involved with I do miss like these concepts that I was learning, but then I think back to all the stress, all the anxiety, and I was like, no, I actually am okay. But, without that intensity, it's possible to still, engage in different forms of learning. It doesn't have to be like you're doing like a full-on university course, but just different things like when I convinced you guys to learn Spanish, for example, on Duolingo, that was really good. I'm really disappointed that you have left it for a while now, but
I'm sorry.
It was good while it lasted.
It's because our holiday was cancelled. We had a goal of speaking Spanish in Cuba.
But I have no excuse. Just terrible.
Kieran, supposed to back me up
okay.
there.
No, but I'm glad I do speak to them in Spanish every day sometimes, and they're picking up words, so that's good.
Mostly it's just the glazed look on our face.
Yeah,
See.
Yeah, it's si, hola, ¿qué tal? That's about the extent of my Spanish.
What else do we have? Okay.
On,
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yo quiero something.
Very good.
That means I want, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo quiero pagar la cuenta.
Ooh.
Por favor.
Jack's
well, next time it's on you. Yeah. There we go. That's very good. So yeah, likewise, I've been doing Duolingo for like a year now. I'm learning German. And I feel like it's just a little exercise that I do every day. Like in the morning, I'll just do a lesson, or some days I feel more into it, I'll do a couple more. But just that simple exercise, like it's memorization, it's association of different words, and putting together the grammar, etc. Just stimulates your brain a little bit. It's not like fluid flow and chemical engineering, but it's still like making you think. And I feel like little things like that, like even reading, we've all been picking up reading a little bit more. I feel like that anyway. I don't know if you've been reading less or more than you used to.
Less recently, but I need to get back into it. I had 19 books I read last year.
Oh wow, that's really good.
I've done 0 this year.
You haven't done
You've got
0.
time.
You've not done 0 since
I've
January.
done one actually, yeah, that's a lie.
Which one?
Okay.
Humankind.
Oh yeah.
I'd recommend it if
Was that the...
Rutger Bregman one on
Okay.
why people are inherently good, for the most part.
Interesting. It's
but
on
yeah.
the list.
Well, yeah, it's up my room whenever you want to steal it. But I think the good thing about lifelong learning is that there's no pressure, you know, there's no like, oh, if I don't do this right, I'm not going to get an A or something. There's like a... But then on the flip side of that, there's a self-motivation issue, right? Of like, I have to there's nothing bad's going to happen if I don't learn Spanish. Although...
I mean, I'll be angry.
Yeah, I mean...
No.
That's true, which is dangerous.
No, but I totally get what you mean,
Yeah.
definitely, because I was doing this Python course that I started in September, and I still have not finished it, because it got really challenging, and I was like, no one is shouting like over my shoulder to get this done, so I kind of left it.
Yeah.
And there's times where I find this motivation and I do one lesson, but it's not the same rate that I used to at the very beginning. So there's that flip side where you feel that like no one is forcing you, there's no exam to pass, you have nothing to prove. So it's really a personal thing, unless it's like for professional reasons where you need to get some training or some qualification for a job. But if it's personal, I think the most important is to have that purpose, that motivation in your head, and say, okay, why do I want to learn German? Okay, maybe I want to travel there, or maybe I want to learn Spanish because I want to go on holidays to Cuba.
Well, that's exactly it, and that was what was making me do Duolingo every day. We were going to go to Cuba before it was cancelled, and yeah, I think having a goal in mind is helpful. But I was going to say, I wonder how much things like TV and sort of social media on our phones play into the fact that we don't do lifelong learning. I haven't necessarily been doing the course, but I've been really enjoying reading. I noticed Kieran happened to read 19 books last year, and I thought, crikey, I should I should be able to read at least, I thought I should be able to read 12, I should be able to read 1 a month. And over the winter, I think I did quite well. I read quite a few books, and I was really enjoying it. And I made a concerted effort. I thought, well, instead of watching 2 hours of television or scrolling through my phone, I'll just sit in the living room. I'll put some music on and I'll read. And I tend to read. We're talking about learning. I tend to read non-fiction books. Because about history or current affairs or whatever, and I just find it interesting and I learn about stuff. So yeah, I suppose I wonder, do you guys think cutting out social media, if you said to yourself, on Thursdays I'm not going to watch any TV or touch my phone, what else are you going to spend that time doing? You'll be amazed at how much time you actually have in the evenings.
That's so true, 100%. I feel that since I've hidden my Instagram app from my main social media folder on my phone, I use it way less. I still go on it, and I sometimes waste hours on it, but
on the reels,
which is bad. But especially just getting rid of those distractions makes you have that time, like you said, just sitting down with a book. I've tried to go to bed earlier, and instead of just getting ready for bed to go to sleep, I get ready for bed to go read for maybe half an hour, and that way I get sort of my reading in, because I've started this book that's 800 pages long, and I'm not going to get through it if I read like a page a day, so definitely.
For me, what I struggle with in terms of social media and TV is that I need like habits or places, and we were talking about this, last week or something. For me, to exercise, it's easier if I'm leaving the house to go to the gym than it is, say, let's do a home workout. Which is crazy, because to do a home workout, all one needs to do, get changed, find a space on the floor, and just do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like going to the gym is obviously I get in my car or I walk to the gym, or and then like you're doing more, like it's extra effort. But in my head, like I don't know, it makes it a lot easier. And at least when I was commuting in, I was on a train for 40 minutes, and it was easy. Okay, I'll just bring my book. open my book, I won't go on Instagram, or especially when I lived home back in Kent, the train had no signal because Kent is like mostly countryside. So like I couldn't go on Instagram or Facebook. So like reading was pretty much the only thing I could do, or maybe Duolingo with very limited internet use. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, I feel that the train from where my parents stay up to Glasgow, there's 2 trains you have to take. One of them used to not have internet, like Wi-Fi, and I would just sit and read or do something. And I feel that when I got on the second train that had Wi-Fi, I would never read because I'd be like, oh, I'll just sit on my phone.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to have those areas of focus, because I feel that when you're at home, you can just do whatever.
Yeah.
You eat, you sleep, you do everything at home. Whereas where you have a specified area where you do your workouts, like the gym, you're really there just to work out and you have no other distractions. It's just, what else are you going to do? You're going to sit on the bench on your phone. Like, you feel that pressure, maybe because you feel like people will judge you, maybe because you feel like you're there while you're wasting your time. It's a mixture of all of those things. And it's the same with going to the library. You maybe feel like you're more, I felt like that anyway, I felt like more motivated to study when I was in the library as opposed to home.
And you feel more stupid if you're on your phone at the library.
Exactly. I mean, I still did it, but
Just
because I
not
lived in the
much.
library, that's really bad. But it's not as much, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's all these distractions at home. You can just, when you're doing a home workout, you can just pause the video, or it depends if you're doing a video or that. When the gym closed and I used to do home workouts, I would be so tempted to stop halfway through.
Yeah.
And whereas if I'm at the gym, like, just get it done, get home quick, you know, and be in the comfort of your PJs after you've showered and all that. So I think it's very important to have those areas of separation, which it has been really difficult over lockdown, because I mean, I work from my bedroom, I have my little desk, and sometimes it's difficult to really know, okay, I'm just work mode now, don't think of anything else.
Yeah, you know, like, hats off to all the university students this year and last year, and
100%.
and people working at home. I mean, if obviously you haven't been fired or anything, but I mean, like, if you're smashing the work when you're at home, I mean, power to people. I mean.
Yeah, well, we have a friend who obviously worked from home during the pandemic. She went home and her family had to isolate because of her father. Was vulnerable, and so they couldn't go for walks. They literally couldn't leave their house at all for the entirety of the first lockdown. You know, and she was at home with going home to visit your family is great, but when you're locked in a house with them for 5 months,
Maybe not so great.
Maybe not so great, and then doing all your work, you know, a full-time stressful job from your bedroom. I mean, I'm amazed she got through that. So yeah, absolutely, hats off to everyone who's done it.
Definitely, especially as you said, universities too. Like, you're in a different environment. You are still maturing, getting to know who you are and what you want to do. University is an environment where you're supposed to meet people and join clubs and do all these things, and you're just stuck in a box doing your work, and it's very difficult. I spoke to Monica about this, where you don't really know how other students are doing, and so it can become really scary because you don't know if you're struggling a lot with your current workload. You don't know if people are feeling the same, and so you feel like you're on your own. Whereas if you go to present like in-person classes and discuss this with people in real life, it can become more like a support group in that sense. And so, yeah, it's been very tough on them. I wanted to also ask, do you have any goals with the lifelong learning that you're currently doing now? So for example, you want to read more, that's maybe one of your goals, but is there anything sort of more like quantifiable that you know, okay, I really want to get to this level at a certain point in my life, or are you just going with the flow?
Any goals, quantifiable goals that we're aiming?
So for example, imagine, I want to get my master's in economics. That would be like, okay, this is a qualification I want to obtain. Whereas, you know, I just want to get better in my German. Like, that's maybe currently my goal, which isn't perhaps a very good goal objectively, because
You need that smart
what does
goal.
good mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. What does good mean? Saying hello, how are you, or having a conversation for 5 minutes with a native.
I know, you know, resolutions have their, like, the New Year's resolutions obviously have their, what do you call it, the cliches, and it's really hard to keep up with them. I do try and set them each year.
You do, mate.
I do. And one of them is read 20 books, pass my course, and then a Spanish learning goal, which I started at the year. So
what does that mean, Spanish learning goal?
I actually did write it down somewhere. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like be able to speak for like 20 minutes to someone.
Oh wow, we could
Maybe
get there.
that was quite
We could get
ambitious.
there.
Yeah.
We've got a few months.
Yeah, got half a year left. But yeah, and I think there are things that I want to be able to do by the end of my life. For example, speak another language, learn an instrument. I'm sure there's other stuff as well I could think of. But yeah, I guess it's hard to weigh them up properly each year and think, okay, do I have time to learn an instrument? I probably do, but like, do I want to?
It's about prioritizing, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's difficult sometimes. Exactly. But I think it also comes down to saying, how important is this goal for me right now?
Yeah.
And if I want to learn an instrument, what instrument do I want to learn? And just kind of break it down a little bit so it becomes more attainable. Because if I say, I want to learn 5 languages in my lifetime, I don't even know which languages or how I'm going to get there or, which ones. Yeah.
And I think that's why I put a Spanish goal and I haven't learned a guitar this year. Because the Spanish one is like more pertinent that Cuba's coming.
Definitely.
Hopefully I'll be travelling at the end of this year. I don't know.
Fingers crossed. So you will be needing your Spanish, essentially, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
For sure. No, but I think that it is very important, like you have just at least 3 goals and not overwhelm yourself with too many, because then it becomes so difficult, you just stress yourself for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. I've got read. I'm supposed to do 12 books. I'm definitely not on course.
How many have you read?
How many have I read? Well, this year, 2.
Really? I thought you read more, but that's really good still.
Yeah, but from January, January to May, so 2 out of 5 so far.
It's not bad.
You get some light books in there, some
some like
Tom
100.
Clancy.
Yeah,
something
you'll
very
get there.
thin.
And I feel that also because you've been reading the same book for a while, maybe, and so have you, right?
Yeah, you stagnate a bit, don't you?
So I feel like something that I've tried to do now is read like 3 books at once. And obviously I'm not reading like Monday, Tuesday I'll read this one. No, I read the main one, but then if for some reason I don't feel like reading that one, I'll go pick up the ones that are shorter, just to have it. They're completely different. I'm reading this novel at the moment, but the other ones are more like non-fiction books, like you said you'd like to read, and so it's a completely different type of read, and so I don't get confused with the storyline. It just becomes easier for me to pick one up and leave the other one, etc.
So I've got a question for you guys.
Okay.
Flip the tables on you guys. What 3 skills would you learn? Like, if you could master right off the bat right now, what would you go for?
It doesn't matter how long, just like set them now.
Yeah, you set them and master them like just like that.
Like start getting at it. Okay.
No, I mean like you would just master. You
Oh,
would
you
have
would
that
just
skill.
know?
You just have the skill.
Okay. I thought you meant something more realistic, like.
No.
Okay.
No, this is
Christina's so focused on the learning.
I want to learn.
so literal.
I am, but that's a good question. Do you want to go first? I'll have to think about it.
I think learning a language would have to be. And I know I already speak French. Well, the thing is, I do speak French.
One of them mentioned it.
I am that guy.
Had a drink. Bonjour.
Hello, I'm Jack. By the way, I lived in France. That was a running joke at university. But about how I introduced myself. But you'll learn this as you learn a language. Is that the more you learn it, I personally feel the more you learn how not good you are at it.
What's that thing that you know this? Like I think you spoke about it before, where you learn something new, and you think I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
And then you learn a lot more, and you think,
and you know what you don't know.
And you look back at what you go, I'm an absolute idiot.
It's good to live in your blissful ignorance sometimes. You're like, I'm so good at Japanese, I know how to say something, and then you're like, no, I know how to say hello.
But I think the thing as well is that I know a lot of truly bilingual people, Cristina being a case in point.
Thank you.
And I, people say, you're bilingual or you speak French, and I do, and I'm a lot better at French than someone who did, to be frank, someone who did A-levels or something. I'm pretty fluent, but equally, I think it is obvious that I'm not a native speaker, and there's just, and it's frustrating for me because I understand pretty much everything. I'm at the stage where I understand everything anyone can say to me in French, pretty much. But I can't, I still have issues because I'm not practicing as much. I'm not living in France, and so it's frustrating because you think, gosh, now that I know all of that, I basically just want to be completely fluent, and I'm not, and I know I'm not.
It also comes down to practice, because I feel similarly with my French. I feel like maybe when I was younger I thought I was fluent because I didn't know all that I didn't know. And then speaking to French people, I realized actually no, I don't know how to say so many things. And when I have conversations with myself, I'm like, yeah, I got this, I know how to say these things. And then when a real person comes in and talks to me in French, I'm like, oh, I don't know how to express myself in this particular case. How do I say that? And it becomes a little bit more confusing. But I think that practice is key, and it's so cliche, but it's so true that you just need to keep practicing and keep making your ear accustomed to different types of slang and things like that. That is what I struggle with the most. I feel like a formal-ish French conversation I'll be able to understand completely, but then I was on, what was it called, Clubhouse. I was on this Clubhouse app, and I joined, this is like the app, you may have heard of it, it's an app for those listening, where you can join in audio conversations with random people all over the world, and you can discuss all sorts of topics. I was in a room with all French speakers, and they were having a really colloquial conversation about different TV shows and series, and I understood everything, but when it came to me speaking, maybe because I didn't really know anyone and I was a little bit shy, but also I just really couldn't find the words, and I just felt that I could express myself, but I wasn't perhaps as comfortable, or maybe I couldn't be as funny, with certain things that I was saying. So it's that gap that separates you between being able to speak and understand everything to really sounding like a native and being really comfortable with the language.
Yeah. See, it's interesting. I find that I'm kind of okay with slang. That there's definitely slang that I don't know, but I feel much more comfortable speaking in an informal setting. I currently, hopefully I'll be moving into the French market at work and doing business in France, and I really worry about formal business French, because I can go down the pub and have a conversation with a French person in a bar, no problem, and slang and all the rest of it. But if you told me to stand in front of someone in a suit and talk to them about their business, yeah, and you'll know this, Cristina, the French are very particular about formal speech. And there are certain ways that you say things in formal settings, and I just
You're like, ça va? And you're like, what?
Yeah, but
you just said that.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. He did just say that. Beep. Yeah, but anyway, so we've got we've
digressed.
Okay, yeah, we've got language. We've got learn one language.
Are we all agreeing? I would like to learn another language. That would be one of the skills.
I mean, I feel like for me, just automatically learn a language, I feel like I can already do that without the 3 G
It'd be a waste.
Yeah, exactly.
Miss 4 languages over there.
No, I think for me, maybe learning how to play an instrument, because I never have been very good with. No, I know. Being a good singer, because I'm a bad singer. I wish I could sing well. That's
I know all too well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Whoever hears me in my bedroom singing all the time, it's not good.
Yeah, I think instrument for me as well. I'd love to be able to play piano.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
Amazing. I'll do vocals. You do piano. What were you going to do?
Well, I wanted to learn the piano as well.
You play guitar already, mate. So.
Well, yeah, just about. I dabble in guitar.
Yeah. No, you're pretty good. Yeah.
Well,
what about the third one? We can't also agree on the third one as well.
Well, this is
another thing. Well, it has to be realistic, right? It can't be like a superpower.
No, you can't like break the law of physics or something.
Okay. I think something like being super fit and strong.
Yeah.
I don't know,
See, I don't know, but I feel like being fit and strong is more attainable than learning, is more easily attainable than learning an instrument or learning a language.
Yeah.
Personally, I think
you just go to the gym, sort of.
Yeah, I want to see that, guys. Let's go get ripped.
Why don't you see this already? Yeah. The viewers can now.
I'm going to the gym after this, ladies and gentlemen. So
I've already been today.
I have not. My arms are sore from yesterday. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll go afterwards. I don't think so, but yeah. I don't want to like switch the subject, but with more realistic things, if I had to put in the work, what I would like to do perhaps is learn how to code, like properly, like learn a coding language like Python. That's one of my goals. Maybe it's really hard. I wish that. That's my wish is just master a couple of coding languages. Another thing that I would like would be just to be, this is a little like introspective, but I wish I was more confident just expressing my thoughts sometimes with people who I may not be as like close with. Like with you guys, I can just say what I think, but with other people I'm more like reserved, or maybe it's not that, maybe it's the fact that I'm like just be able to voice my opinions better without second guessing myself. Without having to feel like I need a script, just like say what I think, and just if people don't like it, just be okay with that.
Some people are just like so like eloquent.
Exactly, and like talk show hosts, just like explain themselves, etc.
That'd be a good skill to have as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe if we're going slightly more abstract, is sort of the ability to focus, or sort of the self-discipline focus.
Super disciplined,
because everyone, I mean, we talked about social media and distractions and everything else, and I'm terrible. I'm really, really bad, and I always have been. And everyone deals with it their own way, and there's nothing wrong with being distracted, and everyone has those issues, and everyone will deal with them, and in their own way, and it'll be fine. But then equally, you do sometimes wish that you could just snap your fingers and get your head down for 4 hours and smash this piece of work that you've got to do, and it'll be fantastic. So
especially after days where you sat in your bed and you watch Netflix all day.
Wow,
what a wasted days.
Where did the day go? Exactly. So I think we kind of went all around, but so in summary, what are your top 3 then?
Language, instruments, and self-discipline.
Perfect.
I'm going to go language. Instrument.
Yes.
I don't know. Come back to me.
Okay, mine is having an amazing singing voice.
Nice.
Learning a coding language like Python, and just being comfortable at expressing myself in front of large group of people, being good at like public speaking, that takes work, but if I could wish, that would be it. How about you?
I think I may copy you. I like the self-confident one, like the maybe not public speaking, but like the high social IQ maybe,
like having that emotional intelligence of knowing how to speak to different people, or just like knowing how to like do that. Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for being in the podcast with me.
It's been great.
Thank you very much for having us.
Monica will be so proud of you guys. You did her very proud, subbing in for her. And for you listening, thank you so much for being here for season 3. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us. And we'll see you, or I'll see you. Maybe we'll come back. I really hope so.
I mean, this could be an interview for permanent host status.
Maybe we do a coup and we force off Monica. Who knows?
Who knows what will happen.
I mean,
exactly. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.